Today we're going to talk about how to build a brand before you have a product or service ready. So in a lot of my brand strategy and a lot of this program, I talk about offering, like how do you frame certain things based on your offering and how do you bring that into your branding. So it might be confusing if you're like, well, I don't have an offering. Like I know what I want to do. I just haven't figured out the exact thing yet. So this is the question that Jen brought. So let me rephrase it here. So she's saying that she does not have an offering or product yet. She was first thinking about making a digital course, but she feels like she still has to learn that and she still has to build that. So how is she going to frame some parts of the branding? You can definitely create your brand with or without offering. So it is 100% doable, probably even advisable, because the moment you're ready to sell something, if you haven't been building your presence, if you haven't been building your brand, you're going to have a rude awakening that there's no one listening because you weren't building that awareness around yourself and around your business ahead of time. So definitely, even if you knew that, well, for a year I can't do anything, start today. There's no better time than today. Actually, yesterday would have been better. So you can talk about what brought you here, what inspired you to do that, why is this important to you, why is this important to your customers, and all these things. I want to share a tool with you guys that I use. It's maybe one of my favorite tools that helps me break things into first actionable steps, but it also, in this case, really well explains, and bear with me after I've explained how to use that tool. I'll show which part you can start talking about right now and which part you have to save for a little bit later. So this tool is called OGST. So it's just an acronym for Objective, Goals, Strategy, and Tactics. So this is from, they taught us this method when I was getting my master's degree. And if I remember correctly, this is based on some kind of military like strategizing how, I think it was about war or military or something like that. So the way you break this apart, or where you kind of start to unfold this, is that objective is this, it's basically your mission. It is this one single larger objective that anything you do, any activity you take, will have to kind of move the needle towards this one objective. And here, as an example, I've put enable more active and happier retirement for women. And then everything below that, when we're going to start drafting the goals, strategies, and tactics, each and every one of those have to support this one objective. If it doesn't support this objective, you're not going to do it. So similarly, and this is great, by the way, also if you have the infamous shiny object syndrome, which means that you just kind of want to, like, you have a squirrel brain and you keep spiraling towards the next shiny object, and you have a hard time staying on course. Write this objective on like a piece of paper and tape it on the wall. And every time when you want to buy a new course, if you want to like start doing a new thing, read that objective and say, does this, whatever thing I want to do, is it going to take me towards this objective? If not, then it's a distraction. If you can clearly say that, yes, it will actually take me towards this objective, wonderful, then it's something you can do. Okay, so we have objective. Our objective for this example is enable more active and happier retirement for women. Oh, okay, so for that I invented 4 goals. So goal 1 here is, for instance, to empower to lose weight. Goal 2 is to inspire to make a bucket list. Goal 3 is to inspire to make new friends. And goal 4, empower to fight depression. Well, how did I come up with these goals? Well, one way is, if I'm just really passionate about, senior or elder women and making sure they have happy retirement and great life, but I also happen to be a health coach or nutritionist or something like that. that kind of ties those two strings together. So like the target audience that I'm really passionate about, as well as my special expertise. All of these goals should be based on research in some ways. So for instance, maybe I have found out that the senior or elderly women who suffer from being obese or are overweighted, they tend to be less active, which then feeds into being unhappy. So I have maybe working with these retired women, I've noticed that, okay, being overweight equals less activity and in general unhappiness. Okay, clearly I need to empower these ladies to lose some weight. Goal 2, maybe I've seen a research that states that, you know, the retirees who have some sort of bucket list, that they are more active and they travel and do all this stuff. So then you're like, okay, so that makes sense. I should, you know, inspire these people to make a bucket list. Goal 3 and goal 4 could go a little bit hand in hand. So goal 3, maybe you've interviewed or you're just hung out with a lot of retired women and you notice that those retirees who have lots of friends tend to be happier. So then you're like, okay, so I need to somehow inspire these ladies to make new friends. And then goal 4, maybe again, you've bumped into some research that the rates of depression among the elderly are on the rise. In order to enable them have happier retirement, you need to empower them to fight depression. So that's how you can, the way you come up with these goals is if you have special expertise that perfectly matches this objective or supports the objective. If you have seen research on this topic that that really kind of helps you figure out these goals, or if you know your target audience, you've hung out with them, you've interviewed them, whatever, and through those insights, you've figured out things that you need to do or they need to do that supports your objective. So these become your goals. So objective is that large umbrella that will, you know, everything under it has to support that one big goal, your mission, or big objective, your mission. Below that are goals, and goals become also these bigger things that we're going to start breaking apart. So let's take a look at the next layer. Strategy. Each goal can have more than one strategy, but in the sake of simplicity, I'm showing here just one for each. Okay, so our goal 1 was to empower to lose weight because we knew that obese elderly were less active and unhappy. Okay, so here we come to the part where we talk about the very specific offering. So strategy for goal 1 could be, and these are just examples that I pulled out of my hat, strategy could be an online course to teach weight loss methods, or what, maybe you have one specific method that you want to teach. But anyways, so this could be, when we talk about empowering, online course teaching something works well. Goal 2, inspire to make a bucket list. Okay, so maybe you're thinking the best way to make that happen would be to create an inspirational blog and then some instructions on how to, draft a bucket list and how to make it happen, like how to start tackling your bucket list items and whatnot. Ideally, these strategies all support each other. They create a nice whole and a nice set of strategies that all support each other. For goal 3, inspire to make new friends, because you had found out that elderly who have more friends are more active and happier. So strategy here could be create a podcast where you interview seniors who have made new friends, and then maybe you want to tie to the bucket list so that your strategy stays intact. And maybe like your podcast could be interviewing seniors who've made new friends and they're tackling their bucket lists, or something like that, something to keep it all together in the same kind of area. But the idea is to, when we talk about inspiring, again, creating content that inspires people to take action, it also falls really nicely into the know, like, trust. So they know you, they listen to you, they start liking you, and then bit by bit they start to trust you, and eventually they'll buy from you. And then goal 4, empower to fight depression. So now again, from the goal 1, you remember when we talk about empowering, it's more concrete, it's more about teaching, showing someone how to do something. So maybe here your strategy is to write an ebook about the power of meditation. So again, maybe you have background, you know that meditation can help fight depression. So you're gonna like bring all that together. So tactics for each of those. Tactics are the very concrete things that step by steps that you do for each goal. So for instance, remember goal 1, empower to lose weight, was about you wanted to do an online course for that. So the tactics would be, you know, outline your course, record the videos, edit the videos, create handouts. You can break the tactics as small steps and as like detailed steps as you want, or you can keep them like in the bigger buckets. It really depends on how you like to operate. Goal 2, inspire people to make a bucket list. And then you want to do that, or you want to make that happen by creating inspirational blog. So maybe these are like, you start a blog, you create content for it, you connect with other blogs to guest blogs so that you can start gaining visibility for your blog, and so forth and so forth. Goal 3 was inspire to make new friends. Strategy for that was to create a podcast. So the tactics for that would be start a podcast, find those guests, start batching episodes, and then of course connect to be interviewed in other podcasts, again for the visibility. And then goal 4, empower to fight depression. You wanted to write an ebook about the power of meditation. So the tactics for that would be outline your book, create some guided meditations, write your book, and then publish and sell. Maybe you self-publish and sell on your own website or put it on Amazon or whatever. So this gives you the big picture, but also you can start breaking apart pieces. Like maybe this, you can't do the goal 1 yet because this is your long vision, because you know building an online course is really big thing. Maybe you say, I'm going to start with the goal 2, inspire to make a bucket list. I'm going to start with that, and I will create the inspirational blog, and I'm going to start infusing all these, you know, things into that. And I drew this line here to show that anything below the line is more concrete about your offering. Anything above the line is actually something that you can talk about regardless of whether you have, if you're ready to sell or not. So if you're not ready to sell, you can still talk about weight loss and how, you know, weight loss is important for staying active in your older years and all that stuff. You can talk about how great it is to have a bucket list and how great it feels to check things off from your bucket list and how that enables you to be more active, and different kinds of bucket lists and what it means when you're, you know, a retired person doing this. You can still talk about making new friends as an older person, how easy or difficult it is, different ways to do that, like, and you can still talk about depression and elderly and how to, like, what are the little things that we can all do to fight depression. So this is an example of, even if you weren't ready to do anything below this line, you can still build your brand around the things that are above the line. Some of the things that you're going to need for that is, of course, probably social media presence, your website, whichever way you want to deliver your message. Are you going to do a blog or like a podcast, or maybe you're going to start networking in live events like in person, but somehow you need to start also, as part of building your personal brand, is to start stepping out of the shadows, so to speak, and put yourself out there and start talking about these things. And when I say start talking about these things, you can of course write, it can be written, it can be blogged, whatever, or social media, you know, whatever. If you kind of plan ahead a little bit, then you can also, let's say that you're today, tell yourself like, okay, I'm not ready to sell anything today, but a year from now, what is it? It's October. So October 2020, I want to be ready to sell something. Like, you can make that commitment. And then you can make a content calendar for the next 12 months. If you know that, okay, the thing that you want to sell is, let's say it's an online course, then you can start towards the closer when you're getting ready to launch your online course, like about 3 months before or so. You can start already now, plan that at that time you're going to start tailoring your content more towards kind of being ready for the launch, and more talking about topics that are around that course, so that you're kind of preparing people for that. So it definitely is a good idea to start early. Okay, so I know this was a lot of information in a short period of time. Let me just make sure. If you have any questions about the OGST, Objective, Goals, Strategy, and Tactics framework, post it in the comments. I'd be happy to maybe create like an explain video that explains it further if it's unclear. You can use this for anything. You could plan a vacation with this. What is the objective of the vacation? And what are the goals within that objective, the strategies and the tactics? So you could use this for anything. And actually, it'd be super cool to hear if you end up using this. What do you use it for? I've used it for, well, branding and business strategy related things, but I've also used it for kind of mapping out smaller projects. Typically work related is what I've used it for. But it is one of my favorite tools. I think that's it. Happy branding.